experience, but I'm lucky enough to have my own bed down the road in Twyford. But here we are on the start line. We'll jump back into that lovely camera on the start line where we get to feel all the atmosphere here in this Double Sculls Challenge Cup. And we've got double Dutch lining up on the start line between Meijssen and Van Bohemen of the Netherlands going up against Van Eijck Heslinga and Ten Boom of the Netherlands. And these two doubles, I think, will talk about emotion and motivation. They'll want to be the fastest Dutch crew going through in this Double Sculls Challenge Cup.
Relax. Relax, gentlemen.
Oh, Richard Phelps telling everyone to relax. I wonder why that is.
I'm just thinking, we saw in the last race there was a flock of geese on the course, which highlights another one of the challenges, actually. So it could be something like that.
Yeah, we can't control the geese, so perhaps the course being cleared further down the line. We had a few moments like that. I saw a wooden log being pulled out the other day when I was on the launch. But safely away now in the Double Sculls Challenge Cup. Meijssen and Van Bohemen on the left-hand side of your screen, and Van Eijck Heslinga and Ten Boom on the right-hand side of your pitch. So this here is Meijssen and Van Bohemen, who have got the great start here in this Double Sculls event. And we'll see how they get on amongst this other Dutch competition. And they'll be very familiar, having raced each other at Dutch Championships all through the year. Picking back up this Double Sculls Challenge Cup race between Meijssen and Van Bohemen of the Netherlands over on the far side with that great start, and Van Eijck Heslinga and Ten Boom on the near side here. And doubles, something that you, I think, have got lots of experience in, Angus. If my memory recalls, I think you've been to a couple of World Championships in the Double Sculls, or at least World Cups for certain. Tell us what this event takes to be sort of synchronised and quick in the Double Sculls.
Well, I think it's a funny boat class, right? Because it's quite obviously in between a single and a quad, but they move at very different speeds. And a double is perhaps a little bit more similar to a quad than a single. So what you need is a very fast catch, particularly from the guy at bow, to take the load off the stroke man who we're seeing here, and that's really what makes a fast double.
So you're saying Erik Van Eijck Van Heslinga in the bow seat, there in that crew, having to try and beat in Brent Ten Boom in the stroke seat to try and get this double moving a little bit quicker. And I think if you look at the comparison there, the sort of difference in crews, it's quite apparent, and this is a very smart outfit here. Meijssen and Van Bohemen of the Netherlands. Van Bohemen in the stroke seat. He was at the Under-23 World Championships over the last couple of years in sweep boats. So another person that's switched back to sculling. But talk to me about this double here. What can you see, Angus? Tell me a little bit about what's going on screen.
Well, it looks like they're picking up the boat nicely and they're really pressing it away with the legs first before not really using their body very much. Quite typical of Dutch style that you see racing internationally, but they're having to correct a little bit for their steering there. Shows that it's not easy when you've got two blades as well, rather than just one.
We can see why they've had to be corrected for their steering. They're right in the middle of the course, and it looks like their barrel's now pointing back towards our camera here on the Berkshire station, so they have corrected, but it takes time, doesn't it, for the boat to respond?
It does, yeah. It's not instantaneous, and sometimes you overcorrect, which can slow you down as well. Every time you steer, it slows you down, so you really want to be straight as a die.
So up in front, the clubs being represented here. Meijssen in the bow seat for Proteus Eretes, and it's Theta being represented, the Eindhovenese Studenten Rijvereniging Theta of the Netherlands in the stroke seat. So a composite crew. They have been together racing a race called the Hollenbecker, and have you ever raced the Hollenbecker, Angus?
I have, a few times.
Tell me a little bit more about the Hollenbecker then.
So it's the Dutch National Championships, and it's a fantastic event. It's kind of analogous to, like a Dutch Henley almost. It's a festival of rowing in Holland, like it is here at Henley. So for them to get to race both that's a very special experience.
And the Dutch, we've talked across all of our live coverage about how many international entries we've got here at Henley Royal Regatta. Over 200 athletes from overseas, 27 countries being represented, and the Dutch, I think, one of the largest contingents from any singular country racing here. And I think that goes to demonstrate why we might have a Dutch race, double Dutch race here in this Double Sculls Challenge Cup. But look, I think we're getting these overhead shots now. Anything more to comment, I guess, Angus, from you on how this boat are moving, especially now we're getting sort of right overhead with them?
Well, I'm just looking at their stern, and it's running on really nicely. You can see as they release the stroke at the finish, like they are now, and they're just letting the boat run on. And you know, that time between the strokes, that's what really builds the boat speed and makes it efficient too.
Have you ever won the Double Sculls Challenge Cup, Angus?
Yes, I did, and actually, like this race, we were racing lightweights. You can see back in the other crew, the power difference might just be telling a little bit here. Now we're seeing them on screen, and you can just see that they're not quite as sharp, this crew, but they're certainly. You can see on their faces they're full of spirit and they're really powering it along.
And I think that they've managed to coordinate a little bit more cohesively since we saw them off the end of the island. And I think the opening strokes of any big race, always nervous ones, but here at Henley, even more so.
Well, particularly on the buck station like this crew are here now, it's very deceptive because you have an island, and the island is not straight at all, and it makes the steering very, very difficult, and you're sheltered from any waves that might come in, and all of a sudden you come out into the middle of the river and you got lots of waves coming in. So unfortunately, if you're on the buck station, there's a slight disadvantage there, but it's only very minimal.
Yeah, and they've course corrected there. They had a little bit of steering there through that last few 20 strokes to try and correct. And in the doubles, no steering wires, no rudders to speak of, all done by something called pressure steering. As somebody, again, who's raced Double Sculls over many times, how did you coordinate the steering in your double, whether that was with Jack Beaumont or whoever else you were with? Was there a sort of assigned person that was responsible for the steering, or did you both kind of collaboratively do it?
So generally in the double, it's the guy at bow, or the rower at bow, because that's where you have most effect on the steering. However, if you really, really need to correct, you can enlist the help of your stroke man just to get an extra bit of steering pretty quickly.
Yes, and I think the crew out in front, Meijssen and Van Bohemen, are the ones that will not need any correction at this point in time. And great to see these guys off the back of a couple of international seasons through the World Cups, sweeping for the Dutch team, and now into this small boat in the Double Sculls. National champions, Dutch national champions at the Hollenbeker, and now looking to try and do the double in the double by winning both the Hollenbeker and Henley Royal Regatta, and they can only do that by progressing through to the next round of semi-finals on the Saturday here, which we're now on day 4. Day 5 will bring those semi-finals in the Double Sculls Challenge Cup for Meijssen and Van Bohemen.